Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
Every once in a while, we have to bring out the big dog.
Yeah.
Oh, God help us. It's time for Danny Unleashed. Sponsored by Easton Roofing, where integrity matters. Go to eastonroofing.com for more.
You're in the program here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Soren, Petro with you. Danny Unleashed in Clinkscale, sponsored by our friends at Easton Roofing. Easton Roofing now is time. We got beautiful weather today.
Well, there is beautiful weather, but not beautiful sounds. Yes, I am here, Danny Clinkscale, in the odd position at this point in time of hosting the program here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. I have to ask for an upgrade in pay for this so they can give me a few quarters for being here, as Soren will no doubt re-hook up from his very exciting remote with all the aircraft going on. And we will talk about a wide variety of things today, no doubt, as we've got Lance Leipold to talk about, we've got the Royals to talk about, we've got the second round of the NFL draft, which should be exciting for Chiefs fans, and we've also got Todd Lebo.
Hello, Danny.
Hi, Todd.
It's like the old days, remote show day. Here we are.
There we go. So,
Soren and Curtis will be right back with this.
I'm sure they will.
Be right back with us. The draft, we were talking before that you actually enjoyed the draft last night.
I did. I didn't intend to watch all that much of the draft, and as I've said, I don't really hate the draft. I hate everything leading up to the draft until about the last 2 weeks. You know, I'll listen to draft analysis within a couple of weeks of the draft, but not on February 24th or not during the NCAA tournament.
What do you think about your 2022 mock drafts right now? Are you ready for that?
No, I'm not. But I started to watch, and I thought the coverage, which, of course, the television coverage, you heard on Sports Radio 810, and Curtis and Soren do a good job of their input as well, and I just ended up being a good watch and listen for me, and I kept on doing it, and what it was for me was a stark contrast to what we saw leading up to it, is that I almost always work out in the morning at the same time Get Up is on. Mm-hmm. And I was searching for alternatives for a few weeks because they talked about the same stories every day, and it really has turned into just purely a football show. They'll break away occasionally, go, let's run the court for 45 seconds in the NBA, or let's circle the bases for 45 seconds. Now back to football.
Football time.
But every day it was about where this quarterback's going to go, or prior to that, what contract, where's Jared Goff going to go? But on Monday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday, on Thursday. But what I saw last night was the same people I watch on that show that I get tired of watching say the same thing over and over again, had actual developing stories and fun material to talk about. And although Booger McFarland's a little too agitated for my liking, Louis Riddick, it was energized, and he's a very good announcer. And Mike Greenberg is really excellent at what he does and resists the temptation of thinking that just because he's the lead anchor for the show that he's the star. And I thought he does a great job of being in a position of being the guy who's running the show, but then letting the experts do a lot of talking. And speaking of running the show, here's the man who really runs the show, Soren Petro.
We're in capable hands. There's no doubt. I apologize. We've got a lot of folks and a lot of things going on up here. So thank you, Danny, for helping us out. I don't know where we lost you guys, but thank you, Danny Clinkscale.
Instantly, we lost you instantly.
Instantly,
yes.
Then we just went through how Danny actually likes the draft now.
Yeah,
so but that's all he wants to talk about. Did he actually liked it for one night?
I did. I did like it for a night. I did like it for a night.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Thank you, guys. We appreciate it. We are on the road today at one of our favorite spots. Lebo, by the way, while you're there, before you go, do you have 1 second?
Yeah.
We got to get you up in the plane, man.
I know.
It was awesome.
It sounds like you had a blast.
It was really awesome. Although everybody up here is laughing, my wife sent me a text. I sent her the video of the door opening and back. Mm-hmm. And you know that they actually tilt the plane down so that things will slide out.
Exactly, yeah.
And so you kind of lean that way. My wife texted me and goes, you can only go up there if Colonel Cluck is with you. And all the guys at the base started laughing. They're like, Bean? She might not understand what she's saying there with that.
Exactly.
But we got to try to get back up to the Army-Navy game when they drop the parachuters, the Navy SEALs, and see it because it was really cool, buddy.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
Sounds neat. I'm glad you got to do it.
Yeah, it was fun. All right, we do have Danny Klingscale brought to you by our friends at Easton Roofing. You can call Joe Spiker and his great team today as, listen, a lot of people come in and tell you got to have a new roof. That's not always the case. Easton Roofing takes the time to educate you about all possible solutions. Call 913-257-5426. Find them online at eastonroofing.com. We're here at the 139th Airlift Wing in St. Joe, where if you want to be a part of these great men and women, they are looking for members. Bonuses can vary from $10,000 to $20,000, full paid college tuition, healthcare benefits, pension benefits, life insurance, and truly a chance to travel the world. They've got people deployed right now from the 139th here in St. Joe. Just a great group of people. I cannot imagine a better group to be associated with than the 139th Airlift Wing. Danny Klingscale with us, and you were talking draft. You liked it. You liked Greenberg, right, as the anchor?
I did, because as I was talking about when you were returning, just because you're running the program doesn't mean that you have to dominate it, and he far from does that. I mean, he is obviously supposed to be the star of the show, but he's got other guys there. There's a lot of material to talk about, and he did a great job of laying out. I mean, he didn't really talk that much. He got them in and out of the picks, in and out of the breaks, set them up for what they're supposed to do, and then let those people eat. And I think part of it was a contrast, because I know you talked about this yesterday, and it was something that we wanted to talk about. The fact that they actually had something to talk about that wasn't the same thing every day, because the Get Up show has gotten so tired because they talk about football every day and they talk about the same stories every day. And this time they had fresh material, so it was really compelling.
Yeah, I think he is a talented guy, Mike Greenberg. I've always thought that. I always thought he was the only talent, frankly, on Mike and Mike, and I think that was proven out by how that show went downhill after he was gone. And I think Trey Wingo was actually the talent on that show when it was the next level. Nothing against Mike Golick. He's a nice enough guy, but I've just been disappointed because I had high hopes for that show, and I was making a point to watch it every morning. Like, okay, let me see. They've got all these analysts they're throwing at it. Mm-hmm. This should be a great show. I mean, he should be able to come at every sport from every angle. He's got Jalen Rose and Jay Williams for NBA and Jay Williams into college basketball. He's got a mountain of people at his disposal for the NFL. Like, this should be great. And every day it was about these 5 damn quarterbacks. I'm so glad they're drafted. I'm assuming, but my fear is that now, we're just going to sit and react to where they went. And really what's going to end up happening is, when is Josh Allen and when is
they'll return to that, because prior to the fact that we focused, that show is on basically right when I work out every day. And there's not a heck of a lot on the morning, so that's I cherish my Saturdays and Sundays when the Premier League is on, because that's a great soccer's a great workout sport, let me tell you. But anyway, so I end up watching the show a lot because there's not that much on there, but it got annoying. I mean, it got extreme because before that it was, what are they going to do with Jared Goff, and where's Dak? Are they going to sign Dak? And it was the same show 5 days a week.
Day.
I mean, I would have thought if I was Mike Greenberg, obviously it's a high-paying gig and blah, 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 but I might have just committed suicide having to do the same job every day. I mean, you talk about Groundhog Day. The fact that he kept his enthusiasm up and does a good job in that situation anyway is remarkable, because I would have gone loony doing that.
I agree. By the way, some news: Sam McDowell, the Chiefs have signed running back Jerick McKinnon Of course, went from the Vikings to the Niners and then was hurt with the Niners and then got passed over by a number of guys, but was a guy that had been effective and certainly looks the part of an Andy Reid running back. So Jerick McKinnon, now a member of the Kansas City Chiefs, according to Sam McDowell on the Twitter. Okay. I mean, I don't have – do you have high hopes? I do not have high hopes. I just think he comes in and he's part of the mix.
Right, yeah.
Somebody's got to be part of the mix.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's just that's an added piece.
Yeah. He is, what would you say, is he Le'Veon Bell 2.0 or is he LaShawn McCoy 3.0?
That remains to be seen.
Okay.
That's
we'll
pretty with the injury history. That's pretty difficult to think. Right.
To have high hopes.
Get your arms around. Right.
No, but I'll tell you what I think these networks are going to be in trouble from. You know what I spent a lot of time watching last night?
What was that, Soren?
Pro Football Focus YouTube channel.
Oh, right.
So they basically went live and had maybe 1.5, maybe 2 minute commercial breaks, every so often. Now that'll change if they gain momentum, but they were streaming live on a YouTube channel, breaking down every pick. And actually they were calling the picks. They didn't have any agreement to not put the pick out before it was announced on television. So they were breaking down the picks before they were even being announced on TV, and they were breaking down the picks. Now, I think where they have an opportunity to really shine, if they're going to do it through all 3 rounds of the draft, is when we get to day 3, and it's rounds 4 through 7, because I still want to know about the players that are being picked. And they were doing pick analysis, and we get that mostly, in day 1 from the networks. But you watch starting tonight, somewhere in mid-second round, here's our feature piece that Susie Colbert did on Trevor Lawrence.
Which drives me crazy because they go the other direction of who's most likely to be watching. If the casual fans are going to watch, they're just going to watch the first night and not the second and third nights. If you're watching the NFL draft on Saturday, you're a hardcore fan. You know who these players are. Cater to that. Give them some information. I think Friday
they tend to, stick to it pretty well. It's the Saturday one that just ends up being, they're not even saying what the picks are.
No, they're like, okay, here are the last 10 picks.
Right.
Like
now, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields.
Yeah. Back to the 10 guys we know. Let's go back to the quarterbacks, and it drives me.
Which is a big part of it.
Yeah.
The hosts themselves don't know who they're talking about.
They don't have any idea, and I'm like, you've got unreal resources at your disposal, and yet you can't keep going. Like, the fans that are watching on Saturday want to be introduced to who all these players are, right? If you're a casual just checking in, like, who did my team take, then you'll look at your phone. You're not going to sit down in front of the television. But if you sit your fat ass in front of the TV to watch the draft, you care about who these players are. Yep. And you want to hear the experts say, well, they've been looking for – a wide receiver. This is a guy that I like in the 5th round. He's here in the 5th round because he had a knee injury and because he had some off-the-field stuff, but this is really a second-round talent. Like, I want to know who those guys are. Or, you know what? Hey, this guy's here to cover kicks. Let's be honest. He's a special teams guy. Like, the football fans want that, and I think Pro Football Focus is going to give it to them.
I think that I was talking about this in another platform. And actually, it was on the Thirsty Thursdays podcast, which is fun when they sit around and drink beer with a guy and talk.
Where can one get that?
That one can get that at DannyClinkscale.com and all your podcast outlets. So anyway, it's a fun listen. It's just one of the wide variety of different things that I do. And actually, today's Kansas City Profile presented by Easton Roofing is Danny Cox and his appearances with the Lyric Opera's Tribute to Baseball. They've got a thing coming up there. They're doing a bunch of baseball songs. But anyway.
Right, the former manager of the Braves?
No, not.
Former pitcher for the Cardinals?
He's a musician. Actually, he's a singer.
Okay.
Yes. So,
My bad.
When you go Wikipedia, those two will come up, certainly. Except not Danny, not the manager, because he's not. Anyway, let's strip that. But what I was getting to is the fact that.
You didn't like how I made a joke about my own inability to recognize names?
I did like that.
Ronnie Cox?
But we were talking about one of the appeals of what the appeal of the draft is for people to watch and draft coverage leading up to it, which is my biggest bugaboo, is the just complete inundation. And a big part of it is really diehard football fans who maybe play fantasy football but really love the sport. But also they love the fact that if they really dig in and watch on Saturday, as it were, that what you were talking about, that they can be the guy at the bar with their buddies who knows the most. This guy's got short arms, and they should have taken. He was a second-round talent, but he had knee problem, like just like you just said. And you can sound like a genius if you're with people who maybe have a real life and can't spend all their time digging in on the draft. So it becomes kind of a cool thing for them. I definitely think that's part of the appeal, for you to be an armchair GM and a bit of an expert with your buddies.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it is. All right. That being said. What's your takeaway from round one, the actual football part? Let's unleash Danny's analysis of round one.
Yeah, that's what everybody wants, my NFL analysis.
I think, know football.
I think that one of my biggest takeaways was I could not believe what the Broncos did with the 9th pick. I just was staggered. They got in a position where they could do 3 things, and they picked the wrong one. Trading down would have been a nice haul for them. Picking a quarterback would have been a good idea for them. Now, Patrick Surtain may end up being a fine corner, but that one I couldn't believe. I'll say that. And I wasn't really that shocked that Trey Lance was picked and all this stuff about Justin Fields. I mean, some of those things were just annoying to me, and the fact that people would say things like, well, Fields was supposed to be maybe taken, 8th or 9th at the worst, and he fell all the way to 11. I'm like, all the way? I mean, he got picked 11th.
One pick after where Patrick Mahomes went.
Right, exactly. So I guess the biggest surprise was one of the biggest news things to me, because it relates to the Chiefs, was the fact that I thought that while, as I said, that corner may be a good player, and that maybe they're reacting to the fact that Patrick Mahomes is in the division and they want a talented corner, I think they really missed an opportunity there. And that's kind of what Denver has done for a few years now.
Yeah, I'm with you. At Fields and Mac Jones, taking a shot again, rocking and firing at the quarterback position, unless you're going to get Aaron Rodgers.
Right. That's the only caveat, that if they have some feeling that they might be able to pull that off, then, yeah, I'll take it all back. But we'll see. Yeah, John Elway did it once, but since then, in any other thing except for taking convincing a surefire Hall of Famer that he should spend his halcyon years under your auspices, then I think that they made a big mistake. That was one takeaway for me.
And if the idea is that you were taking a corner to trade him to the Packers took a corner at 29. Now, maybe there's going to be some flip-flop of picks or something, or, the Packers are like, hey, we're going to trade away Aaron Rodgers, so we're going to have to win everything on defense, so let's go. And they're going to keep that guy at 29, and they're going to the Georgia corner, and they're going to take Patrick Surtain, and they think they're going to have a lights-out defense, and that's how they're going to have to win football in the post-Aaron Rodgers era. But I'm with you. Like, you have to be Justin Fields or Mac Jones ends up being a good quarterback, then you have to fire everybody in your organization.
Right.
Like, you did not get John Elway far enough away from the steering wheel because you can't miss. Like, if there's a quarterback that's available, you can't miss. And that's all that town talks about, is because they're so spoiled by having Hall of Fames, and rightfully so, not spoiled like they're brats, spoiled like they've had great quarterbacking in that town. With Peyton Manning's, second stop and John Elway, that they have to get that position right. They know better than anybody how big of a difference it makes. And so if Fields or Mac Jones ends up being the guy, they're screwed. And I'm with you. Nobody's falling, right? Like mock drafts.
They didn't have a draft. They didn't have a draft 3 months ago, and then they had another draft.
And they haven't played since then.
It's my pet peeve. Like, teams are just they're completing their evaluations. They didn't have an evaluation that had Fields at number 3, and now they've changed it to 11. They didn't get done with their work, and then they said, okay, not worth the number 3 pick or the number 4 pick or what have you. They came to that conclusion probably about a week ago. So nobody can fall, right? Because a bunch of mock draft writers finally started hearing from the guys that will actually make the decision that where they're projecting him is not where they're really going to go. Does not mean the guy has fallen. It means the early dart throws were incorrect. There's a big difference.
I completely agree. Now, there may be a situation where a team really was kind of convicted that they were going to go with a certain player, but indeed, in further digging in, they changed their mind. Okay, but just say that early reports were that, or my sources early on said that they like Mac Jones, but then they further, it's not that they don't like Mac Jones anymore, it's that they like Lance better. But for the most part, it's because they have to fill up the airwaves months in advance of the draft with news.
Right.
Then it's like, well, I look stupid now. So I'll just say this guy's falling. And why is he falling? What did he do? If some guy goes out and commits a crime or something, all right, I get it. But that's ordinarily not what happens.
There's one guy who fell yesterday, Caleb Farley, because it came out that he's had 2 back surgeries since playing football. He has a non-football. He got a weightlifting injury. He had surgery on his back, and then they had to have surgery again, and there were no games in between. That's scary, right? Kid's young, and he got a back injury, and they had to have a second surgery, and it wasn't like, well, he got jacked up on that one hit. No, the first surgery sucked or didn't take or what have you. That guy fell to 22, okay? That's the only guy that I would classify fell yesterday. Let's take a break. I want to stay on time here. More with Danny Klingscale. It's Danny Unleashed, brought to you by our friends at Easton Roofing. Our buddy Joe Spiker and his great team at Easton are there for you. No payment collected until you're 100% satisfied. Commercial and residential jobs. Call Easton Roofing today, 913-257-5426. They're the folks I called when I needed work on my roof. Danny called when he needed work on his roof. And I'm going to tell you, I thought for sure we were going to have to re-roof the whole house. It turns out we just had a simple repair. That's why they say Easton Roofing, integrity matters. They will get you back to work, get you back to life faster. Call Joe and his team at 913-257-5426. Find them online at eastonroofing.com.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
I'm here with Joe Spiker, owner of Easton Roofing, and boy, we had to negotiate a million things in 2020, but Easton Roofing navigated them all. As 2021 rolls out, what should we expect this coming storm season?
Well, Danny, it'll be the same thing as it is every year. The storms come, and you've got the guys out knocking on doors offering quote-unquote free inspections. Be wary as a homeowner. If somebody's knocking on your door, they probably need the work, and if they need the work that bad, they may be willing to do something untoward to get it. So if somebody knocks on your door, says they want to give you a free inspection, just tell them have a great day and give us a call. We'll come out for free and give you a good, honest opinion as to whether or not you need to do anything at all with your roof.
And what's the best way to get in touch with Easton Roofing?
You can always find us online at eastonroofing.com or give us a call at 913-257-5426.
Easton Roofing, integrity matters.
All right, the good sense into the hour answer. In the last 40 years, 2 quarterbacks have gone in the first round despite having fewer than 350 career pass attempts in college. I asked for both, because one should be fairly easy.
One, Mike Vick.
One is Mike Vick.
And 2, was it Mitchell Trubisky? Did I send you this?
Mm-hmm.
You'd think I'd get it right if I sent you
the one that I
damn
didn't
thing.
ask for is the one I thought would be the easy one.
So you didn't think Vick would be the easy one?
No, because the other guy went last night.
Oh, Trey Lance.
Trey Lance.
Yeah.
Trey Lance, 318 attempts. Michael Vick, 343. The next lowest, the third lowest, 487 by Mark Sanchez. Quite a bit of a jump, but
I believe he prefers butt fumble.
Butt fumble Sanchez.
Yeah, he goes by butt fumble. The old BF.
Old BF. Not BFF, BF.
No, just BF. Brought to you by our friends at Good Sense, GoodSenseSubs.com. Get it today. You can order with the app. Get 10% back if you're part of the loyalty club. Now with 30% more meat, and that meat is sliced fresh right in front of you. The cheese sliced fresh. They bake the bread fresh twice each day. It's Good Sense. We're here at the 139th Airlift Wing, where the air show is going to be going on. In fact, we're going to talk to the man who puts the air show on a little bit later, the Sound of Speed air show, and it's phenomenal. I saw the practice today, and it was the coolest thing I think I've ever seen in my life. So the show is going to be phenomenal. All kinds of great, civilian aircraft stuff, but the military aircraft is out of this world. When the Thunderbirds fly over, you can feel it in your chest. It is an unbelievable day. Come up and check it out. You can get your tickets. It's free, but you do need a ticket. Go to stjairshow.com. That's stjairshow.com for Saturday and Sunday. Pre-show starts at 11:30. Noon is when they'll get things started. And remember, there's going to be a number of people here, so plan accordingly traffic-wise. Get here early for that. And remember, you can be a part of the 139th Airlift Wing. They have members deployed right now. You can see the world, take advantage of pension, life insurance, health care benefits, full paid college tuition, and sign-up bonuses between $10,000 and $20,000. It's right now at the 139th Airlift Wing here in St. Joseph, Missouri. We're talking to Danny Clinkscale here in the program. How would you rank the quarterbacks, Danny? Or do you have a bone to pick with how they ended up going in any way?
I think that the Niners are taking a flyer, but I think Lawrence still, the track record is there for him to be number one. I do think Fields was a little too inconsistent in his time at Ohio State, and when the chips were down in the toughest games last year, he wasn't great, although he was good in his postseason win. But I think that I think I probably would have flip-flopped 2 and 3 the way they were picked.
Okay.
But the thing is, it's going to be tough to judge because I think that Kyle Shanahan is very well equipped to make the quarterback look better than he actually is. And so that, I think, is to Trey Lance's advantage. And I also think that they seem like they're going to play Garoppolo next year. Maybe not, but it seems like it. You know, it's a copycat league, and if they can, teams seem to think that, you know, the Patrick Mahomes model was the secret sauce there. And I think Mac Jones is a better fit for the Patriots. I think that probably would have been a reach for San Francisco. And whether they really did like him, or as we said, you know, there is no falling. They just, you know, said that's the kind of quarterback that I've coached and worked with in the past, so I'd be comfortable with that. But now I've dug in on Trey Lance, and I know that he can do the things that a stationary quarterback can do, but he can do some other things too. So that's the complication for me. I think Trey Lance is the biggest risk of the 5 players, but because he went to San Francisco under Kyle Shanahan, it's probably less of a risk.
Yeah, I would agree. And Shanahan's considered a great offensive mind, and I'm sure he'll do a fine job with, you know, get as much out of whoever they take as they can. 20 years old, Trey Lance is. I mean, only 17 starts. There's clearly a lot of upside there. You know, I give him the benefit of the doubt. Am I the only one? Like, I went round and round with George Cheruri from PFF the other day, and he was talking, you know, was seemingly going to be the champion for Justin Fields. And why is everybody giving Mac Jones a pass? I'm like, who's giving him a pass? All I hear is everybody complaining that Mac Jones, you know, like Mac Jones' fault was that somebody thought the Niners were going to take him 3. And so then it's like, he's got a DWI. Why didn't that knock him to the 4th round like it did Dak Prescott? You know, Mac Jones has a bad body. Mac Jones isn't athletic. Mac Jones had all kinds of talent around him. I didn't hear anybody propping up Mac Jones, yet all these people seeming to come to the defense of this helpless damsel in distress named Justin Fields. Like, you know, it's the narratives written by people not in the know that then get other people's dander up and arguing in defense of somebody. Look, we're going to find out, and I do think where you go, like, I think Patrick Mahomes would be good anywhere he went. I think he's been great because he went to Andy Reid and had a bunch of talent around him. You know, I think that's definitely part of the equation. So it does matter where you end up when it's all said and done. But, you know, I think, you know, I said, look, Urban Meyer's system quarterbacks haven't worked. Well, I think that's ridiculous. You know, there's no comparison. No, there actually is a comparison. I think the system can make you look good. Like, I think there was legitimacy in the no air raid quarterback has had success. Right? I think there was something to that. It's because, yeah, they threw the ball all the time, so none of the guys and what was different about Patrick Mahomes was all the guys previous to him didn't have rocket arms.
Right, and also
they didn't have the escapability that he has.
And also in the air raid, what they were doing much of the time was taking the snap and throwing the ball almost right away to somebody.
Right.
And many times down the line of scrimmage. So it was difficult to judge those quarterbacks. I don't think there's much doubt about that. I think that if Mac Jones had gone anywhere, he should be very happy that he went to the Patriots if he wasn't going to go to San Francisco, because I think as I said, they are. I think Kyle Shanahan is a great developer of quarterbacks, but I think there are some limitations for Mac Jones. But now I think he has a chance to be really good. I think New England gets a lot of players back. They added a lot of talent in free agency. They have an offensive coordinator who is very familiar with coaching and play calling for a player who has a style just like you. And, oh, by the way, for all these people who are talking about off-script plays and everything, the Super Bowl champion looks a lot like Mac Jones. I mean,
yeah.
Tom Brady won the Super Bowl last year. He's not making it many off-platform plays, if any.
The thing that I don't like in the knocking of Mac Jones is just a blanket statement of look at all the talent he has around him. And I would say, well, look at his throws, because you know what? You don't throw to jackass receivers in the NFL. They're talented in the NFL as well, or they don't make it. So, like, I do get it. Like, yes, Alabama has a lot of talent, and I've talked to a lot of scouts who will tell you Alabama guys are tough to evaluate because everyone around them is winning their one-on-one battles. So it is like it was easier. The reason why I think Brett Veach was like Patrick Mahomes kicks ass is because they were only winning 2 or 3 battles around him. He would keep a play alive, then he would just make the perfect throw. And so he jumped off the tape because he had lesser talent around him. And in the NFL, you might win 6 out of 11 head-to-head battles, and that's got to be enough for you to get a first down. Well, Patrick Mahomes is going to do that. So I do get the part about Alabama guys can look better than they are. In fact, I had one scout tell me, hardest thing to evaluate, an Alabama linebacker. Because their D-line always wins in front of them, the coverage on the outside always wins, and they get to run free to the ball. So, like, you look at an Alabama guy on tape, he can run in a straight line and tackle a guy, right? That because they don't play in traffic that much. But when you look at the throws of Mac Jones, right, like he drops it over the top. Yeah, Jalen Waddle's not having to break stride. He's catching the ball in stride. He's putting it right where it needs to be. He throws the ball. The outs are the throws that I'm impressed by. Like what I didn't like about Herbert, and I heard Jason Anderson talking about this on my drive up here this morning, about how, hey, I'll admit, I got it wrong on Justin Herbert so far. Me too. I got it wrong because you know what I saw out of Herbert? A bunch of crossing routes in front of him where he really wasn't throwing the ball that far. And I'm like, well, in the NFL, they're going to make you use all quadrants of the field. Well, Mac Jones throws those outs. I mean, I mentioned Trent Green to Eddie Kennison on the 15, 17-yard out was a thing of beauty and so much more difficult than people realize. That it's 17 yards down the field, but it's 25 yards out. That's like a 38-yard throw. And he was putting it on his hands. Mac Jones was making those throws. Are they rockets? They're not rockets. And Trent Green didn't rocket it in the way Patrick Mahomes did. He had a good arm, but he didn't have like a world-class arm. But Mac Jones makes those out throws. Yes, Devontae Smith got 2 feet down and made a brilliant catch on the sideline, but Mac Jones put it the only place you could put it. And so I don't think he's getting the credit he deserves.
When I watch him play, he throws a great ball. I think he's got a really good arm. And then when I unfortunately, because I watched Get Up, saw his workout tape 100 times, there were some impressive throws there too. Now that's against air, but still, if you're throwing the ball across your body 45 yards down the field, across the field, and the guy's not breaking stride, that's a nice throw.
I don't like of course, he's not being pressured. Okay, that's fine if we're like, but which one of those quarterbacks was pressured all day? Was it Trevor Lawrence? Was it Zach Wilson at BYU playing against some of the worst defenses in college football?
Yeah, and I mean, Trevor Lawrence.
Fields at Ohio State? Like, which one of these guys was the one that was playing behind the crap offensive line?
Trevor Lawrence wasn't dinged because he's playing in the ACC, which is not as good a league, and he's got the kind of talent around him that he did. So I don't see why you do that to Mac Jones.
If we're dinging Mac Jones for playing at Alabama, how is Trey Lance not taken off the board for playing at North Dakota State, who's been more dominant than Alabama at the level he plays?
Exactly. And also, most of his, they do play usually one or maybe two games against better competition, but still, it's 1AA. So you're really relying on the measurables for him. You really are, and you're right. In his division, he's playing against lesser players.
Yeah, I mean, it's to me the quarterback thing is hard, right? Like, how many of these guys, just raw numbers, how many of them are going to be Pro Bowlers, or what we consider franchise quarterbacks, and how many of them are going to be busts out of the 5?
Well, anybody who goes to the Bears has a really good chance of being a bust. I'll say that. But I think you'd have to say that 2 are going to be, probably one's going to be maybe a star, one's going to be very good, and 3 are probably going to disappoint their fans. And that would be the math that I'd lean to. Not everybody in the league can be good. I mean,
right.
They're picking so many quarterbacks now that the bust potential is incredibly high because the league is not going to have, 30-plus great quarterbacks. Just not going to happen.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I will say this: I think it's brilliant by Matt Nagy to move up and get a quarterback, because I think they're going to employ. He's the guy who was part of the Patrick Mahomes equation, so I think they'll put Fields on the bench to play behind Andy Dalton for a year, and so you can't. Well, we got to see what he does with Fields, and then the first year he's got. Well, Fields is a first-year starter, like he's not a finished product. I think he just bought himself 2 extra years.
Well, but the only reason I'd say that maybe should be less patience with Nagy is because he was handed a very high pick. Now, maybe it was the wrong pick, but maybe he didn't develop him either.
Well, I think that's fair. I would lean more towards
I would too.
The wrong pick.
I would too, yes.
And while Nagy hasn't had a 12-win season, he has been to 2 playoffs.
Right.
In 3 years.
And they were in the playoffs last year, so right. That from that standpoint, he probably deserves a little more patience. From the quarterback standpoint, though, if Fields starts to look bad after you picked him and a real consensus of people, whether it's right or wrong, and I think it probably leans toward wrong, was that Fields was really the man and, everybody is missing the boat here, then I think that's going to be a big ding against him, no question.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's take a break. Danny Klinkskill is with us, brought to you by our friends at Easton Roofing. Danny Unleashed joins us from DannyKlinkskill.com. Easton Roofing can come by, give you a free estimate, free inspection of your roof. Right now, whether it's new roof repairs, gutters, attic insulation, the best time to call Easton Roofing is right now. Prices are expected to rise because of the pandemic. This is the lag. All the materials that were in supply have now been gone through, and now we're getting to the time when everything was shut down. That's causing costs to go through the roof. So call Easton Roofing today. Get it done now. It's going to be more later. 913-257-5426 online at eastonroofing.com. And don't forget, free are the tickets, but you need a ticket to the St. Joe Air Show. You can come up and check it out. The Sound of Speed Air Show. If you heard our first hour, you heard the Thunderbirds rocketing all around us. It is incredible. We encourage you to come up. Go to stjairshow.com. That's stjairshow.com. It is an incredible experience up here. All kinds of military and civilian aircrafts. Bring the kids. They will have a ball. Masks are required, so bring your masks as well. It gets going at 11:30 on Saturday and Sunday. That's the pre-show. Show starts at noon. I'm watching more aircraft come in and land that are going to be a part of the show right now. It is just going to be an incredible weekend here at the 139th Airlift Wing in St. Joe.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
I'm here with Joe Spiker, owner of Easton Roofing. And, Joe, there's all kinds of roofing companies in Kansas City. People see their trucks, they see their ads, they see their commercials on TV. What separates you out from the pack?
Danny, there's a lot of roofers in Kansas City that are good roofers that can put a good roof on, but we like to pride ourselves on giving you a good customer service experience. From the first time you call, you're going to get a friendly voice on the phone. We're going to let you know what's happening and when it's happening. And, the other piece is some companies are small enough to do small jobs. Some companies are big enough to do big jobs. We're right there in the middle. We can handle the little stuff. We can handle your repairs all the way up to your big commercial roofs.
So what's the best way for folks to get in touch with you at Easton Roofing?
You can find us at eastonroofing.com, or you can always call us at 913-257-5426. That's 913-257-5426.
Easton Roofing. Integrity matters.
We're at the 139th Airlift Wing today, Missouri Air National Guard. You can be a part of it. Join right now. You can get a sign-up bonus from $10,000 to $20,000. Full paid tuition, health care benefits, pension, life insurance, a chance to see the world. They've got members deployed right now. In fact, they've got members out from the 139th serving in the community as we speak. More than 150 out delivering vaccines and support for the vaccines all around the state of Missouri. The 139th is a special place. If you want to be a part of it, make sure you get up here. They got the air show going on this weekend. Great time to come up and check things out, as the practice was out of this world. So come check out the real deal tomorrow. We're going to talk to the air boss coming up here next hour. We're talking to Danny Clinkscale, Danny Unleashed, brought to you by Easton Roofing. Integrity matters. Go to eastonroofing.com today, whether it's commercial or residential, eastonroofing.com. Danny, what are you looking for from the Chiefs today?
Well, I think the Chiefs are in a position where, it sounds silly because their offense is so good, but I do think they really need a wide receiver. You can always use corner and linebackers. So the Chiefs are in a position where there's going to be some really good talent there. We've talked about it many times, Soren. These second-round draft choices are not toss-ups, dart throws. They're supposed to be really good players, and they're important to hit. And with every player that the Chiefs sign up that they are going to ink long-term, which it appears they will do with Orlando Brown Jr., it means it's more imperative to have cheap first-contract stars, or at least regulars. And so it's a very important, absolutely important evening for them. And these are super important picks if you're going to not do what you've talked about many times and should be talked about many times, that you need to take advantage of this window with Patrick Mahomes, and one Super Bowl or one Super Bowl win or 3 appearances and 1 win is going to be a disappointment. And the way it could be a disappointment is if you become the Green Bay Packers with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I think, and when you're buying another cheap year this year, you bought them down from 24 down to like $7.5 million, which means you're going to pay more in the future. That this is a year when you make those moves, you're saying we feel this is a year, and it's worth, putting ourselves in worse shape in the future to go for it this year. So this needs to be a year that they cash and have a very good season. Now they're going to swing and miss. Injuries might bog them down. It's what ultimately got them in the Super Bowl. I mean, I think last year was mission accomplished from a personnel standpoint. It was just, hey, football's a violent game, guys get hurt, and they were hurt in the final game. I still think they were definitively a better team than the Niners when healthy, or than the Bucs when healthy. I think you could make a case the Niners were better, right? But the Chiefs got them. But they were definitively better than the Bucs, and they proved that several weeks before in beating the Bucs. But I think they've got a good team. I do worry. I described it to a buddy of mine today. I said, listen, where if the Chiefs are on a grading scale and they're an 80, and they can make a move that makes them an 85, but it's going to force them to be a 60 in the future, as opposed to making a move now that would make them an 82. But they would still be a 75 in the future because they'd be in better shape in the future. The Chiefs seem hell-bent on being the 85 grade team over an 82 grade team, no matter what the cost is in the future. And I would say let's use the power of Patrick Mahomes and let's set ourselves up as well as we can every year for the future. And then eventually in the future, you'll be a 90-something team if you're constantly making good decisions with the cap and your roster.
You have somebody to cover up a few flaws. So, don't waste that. Don't feel like you have to have the rest of the roster be better than the rest of the NFL because your quarterback is that much better.
Right. And I think the reality is you're going to have him cover up flaws at some point. Why not now? And when he's more expensive and it's harder to put those pieces around him, why not keep those numbers as low as possible?
Totally agree.
That's my thinking. I do think Curtis ran the numbers, the picks from 58 to 67. So the range, the 10 picks, they're picking 58 and 63. So that window of 10 players, 8 over the last 20 years, 8 receivers were Pro Bowlers or All Pros, 6 in the last 10 years. I do think it would be wise to draft a receiver. I don't know if they're going to do it. I think they might go all defense here on this day, but I'd like to see a receiver in this. Do you agree?
I absolutely agree. That was the thing I said. I think actually I might do that. I think that might be my first priority, but I do like linebacker, and it does look like they're leaning in that direction. And, oh, by the way, the NFL draft certainly does rule, but I really do like the Kansas football hiring coach hire. And nothing's guaranteed, especially at a program that's so difficult to win at. But a guy who's built 2 programs and stayed there and stuck out the course, I think Lance Leopold looks the part. We'll see if he gets it done.
Yeah, I like the hire as well. From the names I was hearing, I think they got the guy who's best equipped to do it. Yeah, Leipold from Buffalo. Danny, you're the man. Everybody check out DannyClinkscale.com for all his great work. We'll do it again next week, my friend.
Sounds perfect.
Danny Clinkscale, brought to you by Easton Roofing.
This podcast was made possible by our great sponsors like Easton Roofing, the presenting sponsor of Kansas City Profiles at the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Easton Roofing, where integrity matters. We hope you enjoyed the latest Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Come back soon for something fresh and new.